Hey everybody, this is Tea and Tequila, otherwise known as Rocky and Sarah, and we are here to talk about some of the books that we've read this year that have impacted us or inspired us. And it's always great at the end of the year to reflect on things like that because one is it makes you realize how much you've read. So for some of you, it's going to be like, oh, I didn't read enough, or I read a lot. But also, it makes you revisit some of your favorite stories or your favorite things that you came across in the year, and then also how that can impact your writing for next year. So, Sarah, why don't you kick it off?
Okay, I'm going to kick it off. The first one is a book here. Apologize, it's show and tell time. Is the Lunar Chronicles. I discovered them this year, and it was awesome. So I was going through a tough time in my life about right the turn of May, and I was like, I need escapism. And my friend was like, you have to read Cinder, which is the first book. I'm like, the cover's kind of cheesy. I don't know if I'm about this, and it's a cyborg. I'm not like a sci-fi person. She goes, no. Trust me, you need to do this. I'm like, fine. So I went with some trepidation. I opened the book. It's like, holy cow, this is amazing. Blew through the series, wonderful escapism, and I fell in love. Like, I'm head over heels in love with these books. I gave it to my best friend. I'm like, you need to read them. She's like, oh my gosh, winter is so stressful. I love it. So they're great because it's kind of like fairy tales in a sci-fi kind of setting. It's really uniquely done. It's not like, oh no, Cinder is not another Cinderella story where like, they're ripping off Ellen Enchanted. I can't handle this. Leave Gail Carson Levine alone. But no, like the books were so just beautifully written. It's nice to see third person, as we were discussing. It's really refreshing to see like third person writing. I don't know how it'd work in first. And the characters are all well developed. Like every single one of them are badass in different ways. The characters feel very real to me. There's a lot of humor in the books. It's just really unique things with fairy tale retellings. It's well plotted, which there's a lot going on, and I'm amazed that she can track everything that happens. Like, I want my mom to read them, and she's not a YA person, like, because they're just so good. Like, I want to it's like, give the world a Coke, give everyone a copy of Cinder. It was just so, and it was something unlike anything else in YA. There's not ridiculous love triangles, even though I write them. Like, I'm guilty of it, but it was so refreshing. Like, I've read so many YA, like, sci-fi ones. There's not, like, dystopia. I mean, slightly, but not in the traditional way. There's fairy tales, but in a fresh way. There wasn't love triangles, and it was still romances, but they were unique and fresh. It just felt so fresh to me, and it just was inspiring. It was one of those books, as we discussed in an earlier video, where you're like, damn it, why can't I write that? But it was so, I don't know, everything, and they were delightful and funny. I just can't say enough things. Like, it's so inspiring to me because I'm like, I can do third person. It can sell. Like, they're huge hits, and it helped me realize how much I love third person, and my goal, which I'll talk in other videos, write more in third person for 2017. So this book was huge for me. Also inspired me to up my character game, and also just with more freshness with my ideas. And like the setting and world building is phenomenal. I could talk about it all day, but everyone buy a copy if you haven't already. If you've read it, tell me it changed your life, and if Thorn is not the best character ever. Get back, be Captain Thorn forever. Cress is my favorite too, if anyone wants to know. How about you, Rocky? I really passionately talk about these books.
So one is I haven't read that series yet, and so Sarah has been telling me I need to. So that's one of my books series for next year that I need to go through. I was telling Sarah, I have so many books that I've read this year, and so I'm trying to grasp at some of the ones that impacted me. So this book,
I need to read it. No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not giving you spoilers. But what I love about this book, one, is just if you get the hardcover, like it's beautiful. It's just, oh, I love beautiful.
Show the inside. Show the inside. It looks really pretty. Like the color, I love white, black, and red. I'm just.
I know. Look how beautiful.
It's like show and tell time.
I know. Oh my goodness. Like let my nerdy side really show. So what I love about Leigh Bardugo is, one, as I loved her other books too. She has, I think it's Shadow and Bone. It's the Grisha series, and this is a part of that world. But what I really loved about this book, and it has another book, Crooked Kingdom, which is what I just read, is that I tend to really like books that like there is romance and things like that, but and I get sort of bored with books that don't have that as like a central element, even if it's not really strong. And I also tend to like likable characters. This book does not have the main character that really like drives the story forward. He's not a likable character. He's kind of an asshole. And yet I love him. And
That's a side conversation that I need to talk to you about. Is my best friend who read the book was like, why does everyone like him? What the heck? I think that's not the point of these books. I think he's supposed to be terrible. So I need to talk to you offline about this when I'm done reading the book, about like what is up with this mysterious character.
yeah, and the thing is that it's not like a romantic thing. It's just like you just love him for his intelligent evilness. So, and it's not even it's about being driven. It's about really having something you want and going after it, and you sacrifice anything and everything. And that sort of thing is something we don't see as often. But what I loved is that it has multiple points of view, which I always love. But the character development, especially in the second book, Crooked Kingdom, you really see so much development just as them as people through the books, which is of course something you always need to see in a book. But the other piece of this book is that it is insane, the plot twists, and I was legitimately surprised over and over again, which is kind of hard to surprise me in general. And so I really loved it. It had unexpected twists. It was beautifully written. It's something that the romance was very understated, and it was sort of secondary characters, more of that. But it felt real, and I loved the world. Like, the world is phenomenal to me. I adore the world, and her other series was one that I loved too. It was beautifully written, and that one had more of a typical story. Like, this is about thieves and they're, the band of bandits type thing. Whereas the other one, they had the love story. They had like this girl sort of against the world type feel. But wonderful, wonderful book. But the other thing that I love about Leigh Bardugo is, like, I'm really up into publishing and trends and book deals. So these books sold for a 6-figure book deal. Her last book deal was a 7-figure book deal. And I always love seeing authors get huge book deals, because it just solidifies how not just respected, but how much people want these books in the world, and how publishers are honoring that. And so it doesn't matter really if it's a little book deal or a big book deal, but I love when they're huge like this, a 7-figure book deal, because it just, one, it gives evidence that such deals exist for fiction authors, but also that she's going to be coming out with some awesome stuff soon. Mm-hmm. So that's one of them.
Okay, and we can do one more. Mine was Every Day by David Leviathan. I know this came out earlier, but I had not read this book before this year, and it was amazing. Oh my gosh, I read that and it was like, again, another one where you're like, but it was okay. It was amazing. Like, what I loved about the book was it was so unique. I think they've done it in Korean dramas, I found out through a Helen Oyemi talk. But it was so beautifully written. Like, his writing style is insane. He seems like such a nice person. I've heard him speak, and everyone I know who knows him says he's like the loveliest person on earth. And it was just like, it's about a person, a soul, gets in different bodies. Each day you wake up in another body, and the person falls in love with this girl, and it's partially her story of how do you deal with someone who's in a different body? What does love mean if it's like not gender or even age or race? And it's also cool because he experiences different people's lives, and some of them are really great, and then some of them are bad. Like, one's an abusive household. So you get a sense of the world, what it means to be human, and how people deal with things. And it was cool how the narrative voice was really strong, and I just thought it was something fresh, just to play with these different ideas. And his books always have so much heart to them. What I love is you can tell he's a good person. You can usually tell by writer. Like Jonathan Franzen, I'm not so sure based on purity. But I'm sure David Leviathan, it seems really lovely. I'm not just saying that because he hearts my tweets when I mention him. But he just seems like, you can tell he cares about people. And his books really have a lot of heart. And no one's really, like, there's some people who do bad things, but it's still a complex view of humanity. It just inspired me because it's like, makes you see like different kind of lives teens go through, which would be interesting for my books, and just something different with narrative structure, which I really liked. It was just challenged me to think of narrative in a new way, characterization, and the idea of love as a teenager. I just thought it was really beautiful books. It was just inspiring.
Oh yes, that book is phenomenal. Really, I'm going to sort of like steamroll through a few, but one, based off of what you just said, one that I read earlier, but I think that people should read, is Unwind by Neil Shusterman.
Do you have a picture of this? I lent my book to my friend. I'd show people every day, but it was lent out.
I don't have Unwind on my shelf. I listened to it on Audible, and it was awesome. But the reason why I love that book is because it deals with such deep questions, and it's such a radical story in terms of how it unfolds. And I'm not going to share much about it, but in terms of dealing with really, really deep questions, what it means to be human, what it means to be alive, it's phenomenal. And I read that a while ago, and it was one of those books that sort of took my breath away in terms of just what it made me consider and what it made me think about. A book that I love that I just read was Our Chemical Hearts.
Oh yeah, you texted me about that one. Yeah. I bought it.
I loved it. I just devoured it really quickly. I love the characters. I loved, again, it talks about like what it's young and to be in love, and what is young, what it is like to be young and to be broken, and you know how you can fit the pieces back together, and how that looks. And so it was done so beautifully, and I love the dialogue, and I love the characters, and I love the metaphors and everything that they brought together. Now, my last one.
Okay, I have one more too. It just hit me as you were speaking.
Okay. So this one is not about the book. This one is about the story around the book. So I read this book, Poison, by Bridget Zinn, and I didn't know anything about the author. I just thought the cover looked cool, and I wanted something, and it was described as sort of like light fun, right? And so I read it, and it was super fun. It was very quick read and very lighthearted. Usually I like my fantasies really dark and things, and this was just like the opposite. But then I got to the end, and then I read the bio. I read every single page in a book. I got to the bio, and it said that she had passed away. Oh. And then I went and started researching, and she was editing her book from a hospital bed as she battled cancer. And she did not live to see the book published. And when the book was published, when people in the industry, instead of promoting their own books, that authors promoting their own books at different book conventions and things, they all put up her book. And one, it showed me two things. One is that it doesn't matter how long we have, as long as we do what we love, because it matters. And then also that there is a beautiful community that we can lean on, that will honor us, that will cherish us, that will uplift us, and we need to find that kind of community. We need to find those people, and there's no reason to be isolated, to feel isolated. So for me, the story around the author and the book being published and all of that inspired me, and it made this really light, airy book to something that actually brought me to tears. And I want all of us to, one, feel like the time we spent writing is important and necessary, but also that when it feels hard or difficult, or when we feel lost, that there's people we can reach out to lighten the way.
and we can do that. So don't hesitate to go on our sites and contact us. And I feel like I can't follow that now, Rocky, but I'm going to try anyways. I think it's on my shelf. If it's not, yes, it is. Sorry, I'm so lazy, just because everything's right here. Was the When the Moon Was Ours. Rocky's going to read this.
I'm so excited about reading this book.
I have another one. Darn it. There's two. Okay, I lied. It's the problem when you're a reader. You're like, I'm going to limit myself. No. This book is absolutely gorgeous. It's by Anna Marie McLemore. Forgive me if you're listening to this. I don't know how to pronounce it. But she's a Latin American author, and it's about a Latin American woman and a Pakistani man. It's about transgender. It's magic realism. The prose is stunning. It's literally one of the most beautiful YA books I've ever read in my life. There's like fairy tale elements to it, but it's like magic realism. And it's like so, and the fairy tale's not done in a heavy-handed way, but actually it's like symbolic. And it's so lyrical, and it's heartbreaking, and it's uplifting, and it makes you feel all the things. And it's so beautiful, and it's really good to have, like, diversity in a book. It's a great example of that, and also LGBTQ rights is in here. It has all the things you want. It's kind of the perfect book, and I read that, and I was like, another one where I'm like, damn, I can't write like this. But I highly recommend it, and the cover is beautiful. As you can see, it's absolutely stunning. And I just cannot say enough good things about the books. I'm giving it to my friends. I hope they're not watching this in the middle of it for like Christmas to my friends. It's just one of those books absolutely everyone needs to read because it's so different. It's so beautiful. It reminds me of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, if you like 1,000 Years of Solitude. It's like the YA answer to that. I think it's nominated, shortlisted for the National Book Award, which has not happened frequently in YA. And just so powerful, so beautiful. It's just, the writing is something I want to aspire to, and also just the magic realism is not done much in YA, and it was really refreshing to see that and made me think, do I ever want to write one myself? So that was awesome. And my last one, sorry guys, it can't stop, won't stop. Sorry, not sorry, is A World Without You by Beth Revis. Oh. Obsessed with this book. It was one of the few high reviews I gave it on books I gave like a super high review to, Imaginary Book Club, like an A rating. Oh my gosh, Rocky, I feel like this is so... Have you read this?
I haven't read
it.
This
is your jam. If any book, well, besides that one, is your jam, this is it. It's about a guy in a mental hospital that he thinks... It's not a spoiler, it's on the book. That he thinks is for superheroes, so he thinks he's actually a superhero. But he's a mental institution. It's not a spoiler. It's really well established. And it's from his sister's perspective as well as his. It deals with, like, time travel and... what does it mean to love someone, to lose them, and no longer be in your life? It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's beautifully written. It's very emotionally true, and it's really cool to see his vision of the world versus what the reality is. And I can't say enough good things about it. It's just really heartbreaking and beautiful. And what it taught me was, like, different perspectives is, like, hard to do. And I think she successfully managed to do two different, really first-person points of view. And it was cool to see how you handle something like two different realities in a book. And I just thought it was a challenging narrative to take on. And it showed me how you can pull that off. And there's just sections of the writing that is absolutely stunning. Like, I kept writing down quotes, which rarely happens. So you need to read this one, Rocky, for real. Like, it's like depression and like mental health issues. And you will absolutely love this book.
Yes. It's, Sarah knows that I love, like, deep, dark fantasy, and I love like things that are lyrical and poetic, but then I also like things that are really hard-hitting social issues, take on things in a really real and raw way. So I saw that book. I'm super excited that you gave it such a high review because Sarah is a very critical reader.
I was in English, like master's in English. You just learn to be like, this is not good enough, and let me tell you why.
So she is legit, like when she gives a high review of something, you get your ass out to the bookstore and you buy it, okay?
Yes, you do. I should get commission from... These are not like Amazon affiliate links because they kicked me out of their program. So this is all just genuine from my heart.
Oh my goodness. So we would love to hear about the books that you love, that really inspired and impacted you this year, and get a discussion. We want a list of books that we all need to read because readers love reading, and it doesn't matter if we have 1,000 books left unread on our shelves, we need to buy more. So really allow us, feed our shopping addiction.
My husband will not thank you for this video, nor my mother when she goes in my house and is like, why are your bookshelves so messy? But feed our addictions anyway.
Feed our addictions, and let's just get more of these books read.
Have a good one, guys.